Well, hello and welcome to the MVP show. Today we have Kelly Kane, who's a extraordinaire when it comes to Dynamics AX, formerly, and of course now finance and operations. She's a AX UG All-Star. She's a AX UG Chapter Lead of the Year. So a lot of experience, a lot of community engagement. It's so good to have her on the show. If you want to check out the show notes, they can be found at nz365guy.com/195. Now let's get on with the show. Kelly, welcome to the MVP show.
Thank you.
Good to have you on here. Tell me, what part of the world do you come from? Where do you live, work, and play?
Well, I am based out of the United States, and I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about Kentucky?
I know nothing nothing at all. Tell me. What do I need to know about it?
If you've ever heard of Kentucky Fried Chicken, it was invented there.
Is it really? I just thought that was just a play on words. I did not know that. So Colonel Sanders comes from Kentucky.
He really does. And I actually worked at a restaurant that was started by his wife called Claudia Sanders Dinner House when I was a teenager.
No way, no way. Do you know that just with the COVID-19 thing, recently I saw somebody publish what they said was the closest thing to the 11 herbs and spices for the Kentucky Fried Chicken that you could make it at home because you can't get, all the restaurants are closed.
Oh, nice. Did you know that on Twitter, KFC follows only 11 people, and it's like 6 guys named Herb and like the 5 Spice Girls?
No way. That is funny. It's very well done. Very well done. So what do you do for entertainment when you're not working?
When I'm not working, I like to read. I like to walk. I'm pretty boring.
That doesn't sound boring. Reading is definitely not boring.
But another thing is that's kind of big in Kentucky is horse racing.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've heard of the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. I actually, I'm a part owner of a horse, a racehorse.
Wow.
But he's not very good.
Oh, no.
He's only come in last place.
Oh, no. Do you know you're the second MVP in Microsoft Biz Apps that is a part owner of a racehorse that I know
Really?
of.
Who else is?
Yeah. Greg Olson. Greg Olson is he I think his horse is called Jennifer Eccles, I think, in what I've seen. And he has a racehorse.
Wow, yeah, mine just isn't very good. So it was kind of a whim thing. I mean, I own like 1/250th of the horse or something. So even if he does hit big, I'm not going to walk away with a lot of money.
So are you into horses outside of horse racing?
No, not particularly, but I when I'm driving home, I drive through multiple horse farms to get to my house.
So it's definitely horse country then, obviously.
Definitely.
So tell me, how did you end up becoming an MVP?
Well, honestly, it was an effort spearheaded by Belinda Allen. I don't know if you've talked to her.
I've heard
on
of this
podcast.
name. Yeah, you know what? I think I was in a meeting with her last year at User Group Summit in Orlando.
The big thing with Belinda was that she noticed that there were not a lot of female MVPs in the biz apps area. So she kind of went on a mission to find more. And she reached out to Heather Williams from DCI, or, the user groups, and said, who do you know that would be a good female candidate? And Heather said, I know the perfect person. And it was me. And I was regularly doing little webinars and things. I actually had a webinar series called AX for Dummies that I used to do, where I would take simple processes and just break them down to like the most basic level and talk through the process and record it. And I had a lot of people reaching out to me, and they were mostly like CEOs of companies and people like that who really don't have their hands down in the weeds, And they said, wow, I love this. This is great. Now I can understand what my people are doing and what they're going through when they say they have to click 8 million buttons.
Did you put those up on YouTube?
I did not. No, they're all recorded and accessible through dynamic communities because that's where I've done most of my stuff is through there.
Gotcha. So you've been an MVP, what, 4 years now? 5 years?
3.
But you must be you're up for renewal right now, right? What is it today? Today we're recording this on the 31st, so we're right in renewal region. Are you feeling confident about the next round?
I feel okay. I mean, I'm not going to say yes or no because that'll be the day that I get smacked down and they say, "No, Kelly, you will no longer be an MVP." And I'll say, "Okay." But I feel like I did okay this year, you know. I mean, I put out quite a bit of content every year, and I mean, really it's up to the people at Microsoft if they want to keep me around or not.
So when you say you put out content, what's your kind of the thing that you do that you really enjoy doing and adds value to the community?
Well, to be honest, it kind of changes from year to year. But this year, my big focus was um, study groups. I put out a study group, and I'm kind of like mid-process in between a couple other study groups, but certifications are kind of a big thing. And I think that learning and keeping up with the product as it's just, as you know, it evolves, it changes. It seems like every day. And I think that it's important for people to stay on top of these changes. And a way of doing that is through certification and just saying, hey, I really know my stuff. And it's hard for partners and other people to get new people and have them knowledgeable without these certifications. So I've kind of taken it upon myself to start doing the certifications myself and then turning around and hosting a study group based on the content that has been published out on Microsoft Learn and going through it with users and actually demonstrating the different pieces and parts that are part of Microsoft Learn that people might not get an opportunity to work with or touch every day.
So can you tell me a bit about the format of that? I'm quite interested.
Well, I take what Microsoft Learn has and I break it down into a reasonable amount of sessions. The most recent one I did was MB300. I did that over um, through October and November. It was 8 weeks. And I thought 8 weeks sounded reasonable when I started. It is not reasonable. Don't do that, Mark.
Wow. So it takes longer?
Um, it could, but 8 weeks every single week is very hard on a presenter. So if you can split it up with somebody or, take a break in the middle, I highly recommend that. But I did 8 sessions and they were each a little over an hour. They always went a little bit over, but what I would do is I would take and I made like an outline. I said, this is what we're going to talk about this week. This is what we're going to talk about next week. And, we just went through it. And I said, in 8 weeks, you'll be able to take this exam. And I want everybody to reach out to me. And I want you guys to tell me that you passed. And I had so many people reaching out to me then on Twitter and LinkedIn. And hey, look, I passed. And that was really cool.
So okay, so that's how do you get your audience? How do people find out about it? Is it just through your social media, or is it because it's on dynamic communities, or how?
A little bit of both. So Dynamic Communities marketed it. They went through and, they had it out. And I put actually in the forums, I said, hey, there will be a study group if you want to join. And when the first session came around, I think there were like 150 people registered or something crazy like that. Yeah, it was nuts. And it's still out there recorded. And anybody who is a member of the user group can go out and access those recordings and take that MB300 exam. A few things have changed, not much. They've added a reporting section, so that's not in there. And there's now this part of the exam where they're putting in a virtual machine where you actually have to log in and do something in the system to prove your knowledge. And that was not part of it when I started doing this. So,
Gotcha. So I know the exam formats have changed massively in last year and going forward. Have you found that yourself that they're quite a different examination format?
I only really took one prior to starting down this path. I did the old school. Oh, I don't even remember what number it was, but it was the AX Trade and Logistics back when it was AX 2012. So I took that just for fun, see if I could do it. I did it. I was pretty excited about it, and I was not working for a partner at the time. I was actually working for a customer, and honestly, it was just for me, just some validation that I knew what I was talking about, and that I could use the system outside of the way my company had configured it, because I had always, you know, wanted to make sure that I knew how the system worked in the background, even though we might have done something different, in my company. Oh, I was just going to say that the one that I just recently did, the MB300 or the study group, that one's kind of like the base, the core. They call it the Unified Operations Core or something like that.
Yeah, as and so on my side with CE, it's MB200, which is the core. Yeah, it's kind of like it's the key one that you need to have, and then you can specialize after it, right? And so the MB300 would be similar, wouldn't it? Be the core, all the kind of general knowledge, and then you can specialize in various modules, I assume, after that.
Right. And I've taken the MB320, which is manufacturing, and I'm working with another guy who is an MVP potential candidate, named Andrew Lensack, who I will be co-presenting with him. So it shouldn't be such a burden on me to have to do all those sessions. I will be sharing the responsibilities.
It's such a good idea. And so when does that kick off?
That is probably going to kick off within the next month. I know that Dynamic Communities is ready to rock and roll because everybody's working from home. People are getting antsy. So they want to have some content out there, but both Andrew and I are kind of busy. So it's kind of funny because DCI is ready to go, and we're like, well, but we're a little busy, but we're going to try to do it.
So what are you doing differently with the whole COVID-19 happening? How has that affected your life, and are you working differently in any way?
It's work as usual for me. My customers are still doing business, and I mean, everything's been pretty normal, at least as far as that goes. I like going out. I'm a fairly extroverted person, so for me to be in the house all day, every day, it's a little tough.
I bet. I bet.
And if you've ever seen me, I have kind of short hair, and it's out of control because all the salons have been closed. And I know I've got at least another month, and I don't know what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. But maybe I should put pictures on my Twitter of this.
I saw a meme the other day, and it said, "After this virus is all over, we'll know what people's true hair color really is."
You know,
You know, right?
it might be true.
Yeah, because nobody's getting there. It's so true. Well, in my case, I shave my head, so it's unchanging. Bald is bald. So all good for me. Tell me, tell me what your journey of coming in and becoming an MVP. What have you learned differently in the 3 to 4 years you've been an MVP? What have you learned differently once you're inside the program as opposed to outside the program?
One of the big things for me, and I knew this was a thing, but it just didn't really dawn on me so much, was how different things are from country to country. And I've made some really great MVP friends that are just all around the world. And the AX or FNO MVPs, as they call them, they're pretty well spread out. And there are only a handful in the United States. So when I see them, it's all like, "Oh, hey, I know you." But the majority of them are just really spread out throughout the world. I mean, we have a guy from Japan, a guy from Spain, a guy from Scotland, a guy from England. We have a guy from Germany. I mean, they're everywhere. A guy from the Czech Republic. I mean, so many different people.
So
And
so so what has that led to? How has that influenced you in your career?
well, really what it's taught me is that, not everything is so black and white. It's really opened my eyes to how worldly this product is and, how global the reach is with this product. I just really had no idea. And maybe that's a little short-sighted of me, but it has made me just a more understanding person of just different countries and their requirements and what is needed around the world. And it makes me think a little more openly about how things need to be configured and how something should be. And just because something is the way it is in the United States doesn't mean that that's going to work for everybody around the world.
So true, so true. How do you spend a lot of time connecting with your MVP peers in the F&O side of things?
We actually have a text group where we will text each other, and it's funny because like every now and then one of them will get mad because it's not convenient for their hours, and they'll disconnect and they'll leave, and then they'll be right back a few months later like, hey, what have I missed in the last couple months? So
So are you using an app for that?
we actually use Twitter. We use Twitter DMs.
Oh, okay.
Because we're all on Twitter and we're all always, liking each other's stuff. And it just kind of happened. It was one of those things. I think either Rachel or I started the group. It just kind of became a thing where it was like, hey, who's going to Summit this year? And then,
Yeah. Are you kicking Rachel out now?
she kicked herself out.
Did she really? Because she has gone to Microsoft, hasn't she?
She has gone to Microsoft, and that is my MVP sister because we are the only two females in the AX F&O world of MVPs. So I'm looking for a new sister to share a room with at MVP Summit.
Exactly. You're going to have to find somebody. There's the shout out right there. Who's going to take
Who's the
Kelly
shout
out?
out? Who's going to take it? Who is going to be my new MVP sister? Rachel will always be my MVP sister.
Yeah. But
I don't think we can
now
share a room.
She's blue badged now, so she's got all the inside secrets. Who else are you connected to then inside the F&O space around the world that that kind of allows you to bounce ideas off? That's I'm thinking of the doctor. Is it Dr. Ludwig?
Ludwig Reinhardt.
Yeah,
love that guy.
Isn't he knowledgeable?
He is. And he's so serious too, but he's so fun. We always have so much fun with him. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, MVP Summit the year before last was when I first met him. Had a chance to chat with him. Great guy. So for you, you've got the study group. You've got. Do you do any speaking? Is that another thing that you do at events?
I do. Yeah. At User Group Summit every fall. I usually speak multiple times. This last one, I think I had 7 sessions. It was insanity.
Wow. Yeah. That is nuts. 7 sessions. So what's your format for prepping for a session? What are the steps you go through to decide that you've got, 45 minutes to an hour's worth of good content to share?
I can talk for so long. It's really, for me, it's cutting it down. Like it's making sure that I don't go overboard because I tend to go a little overboard. But a lot of times I'll just get into the system and I'll start clicking through and going through the process of what I want to talk about. I'll pick out, the highlights. I'll make sure that it's going to be relevant for the audience that I'm speaking to. For example, if I'm speaking to beginners or if they're expecting a little higher level session. So I'll make sure that I'm talking about things that are relevant. You definitely don't want to be at a beginner level with people who are expecting, the highest level.
Yeah. So how do you gauge that room?
Oh, I usually, when you submit your sessions, they offer you something that says, like, is this a beginner session, intermediate, or like advanced? So a lot of times I'll write the session kind of based on what I think. And my big thing has always been go for the beginners. you, they're the ones who are thirsty for the knowledge. And a lot of times they get overlooked because people are trying to go for, oh, look at this super fancy session. And I'm over here like, I'll talk to the beginners. I love the beginners. So that's always just kind of been my thing. I just want to make sure that when people are new to the system, it can be very overwhelming. I remember when I was new to AX 2012, and that was back in like 2011 when I first started working with it. And I remember being overwhelmed by the system and thinking, there's just so much here. And how will I ever understand all of this? And I started trying to look for resources and different things that I could get my hands on to learn. And I was struggling. I was really struggling a lot. I ended up going to a couple of different training sessions, and those helped me a lot. And then a lot of what I learned just on my own through, you know, picking through the system and just trying to learn how to do things.
What recommendations do you have for people that one either want to get into AX and or even become an MVP at some point? It's not AX, sorry, it's finance and operations. I'm looking at your webpage here, which has got AX Soup on it, your blog, and I
My
was
old
and I
blog.
yeah, and I focused on the AX. Sorry, finance and operations.
So, if you want to get into finance and operations, I really think that it is beneficial to start going through Microsoft Learn. There is some great content out there. Just read through what you can and go through, if you have an environment, go through the labs at the end. So basically, you'll have all this information, and then it'll say, here's an example. This is how you go through it. This is how you do this. And if you have that ability, definitely get out there and do it. And I know that Microsoft Learn is now offering VMs for people to log in and actually do those exercises because a lot of people don't have access. And those are coming along slowly but surely. So, be patient, but get out there and learn, do everything you can, and then reach out to people. People are always willing to talk.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I like it. There's definitely a strong community that people can engage with, ask questions of, and everyone seems to be willing to help.
Absolutely. Oh, and the user group, of course, how could I not say anything about the user group? But that is a great place to really get engaged with people. There's forums, there are webinars, um, different conferences that you can attend. I mean, there are so many different parts, different moving parts that you can get involved in. And even the local user groups. I mean, when you were asking if I speak anywhere, I mean, I speak at the local user groups as well. I just did a session a couple weeks ago for Portland, Oregon.
Wow. So, are you going virtual now with your user groups?
I am.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Seems the world's very, very much changing. I wonder if we'll ever go back to having the big, massive in-person events that we've had in the past moving forward. I just think I think you can reach a bigger number of people with virtual, right?
You really can. And I learned that at Virtual MVP Summit.
Yeah. Yeah,
There were
crazy.
so many people that were able to attend that normally can't for whatever reason, cost or just too far away, too much time away from work. And they were able to attend. And there was a, were you at MVP Summit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go to the virtual bar?
Yes, I did. Joey's.
It
Virtual
was
Joey's.
fun.
Yeah,
Wasn't that fun?
I did one session. I did one session. Yeah, it was great. And so that's the thing is that I think that the more we look at ways of doing this type of thing, like virtual connections, that type of thing, everyone had their cameras on, everyone had their drink, and it was entertaining. It was great.
It was very entertaining. And there were people, so many people there that weren't even going to be at MVP Summit. And that really, opened my eyes to, how inclusive the online virtual format is. And while I miss being there in person, I mean, I still got a lot out of the virtual format. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, definitely inclusive, right? Definitely inclusive. And, I just, I've heard a lot recently about parents that feel excluded because, they've got responsibility with children. And that's often a blocker why they can't even attend a local user group. And yet a virtual, they can, potentially, give the kids the iPad or something to do and take half an hour or an hour to jump on a virtual session and be involved where they couldn't necessarily attend in person a local user group. So I think it's definitely opening some doors.
It really is. And I mean, it'll be a definite mindset change. But until we get there, you know.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's jump on to some quick fire questions to wrap up with. We're a little over time, but let's go through these. So these are random, okay? So they're not specific to anything or you. So the first one, which famous person have you met?
Montel Williams.
Who is that?
He hosts one of those talk shows where it's like where he does the DNA testing. Are you the father?
Ah, gotcha. Yes, 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 yes. Excellent,
I
excellent.
was working at a Wendy's and he came in and ordered a bunch of spicy chickens.
Classic. Okay, okay. What have you bought that you love so much that you'd happily buy it again?
My Amazon Kindle.
Very good. Well, this will play well for your next question. What book have you read recently that you'd recommend and why?
Oh, I just finished a book this morning called The Chain.
The Chain.
And The Chain, and it's a thriller. It's about a kidnapping ring, and basically your child will be kidnapped, and you have to kidnap another child in order to get your child back. It's crazy.
Oh, wow, that is nuts.
Yeah.
If you could only have 5 apps on your phone, what would they be?
Twitter, Outlook, probably Teams,
Okay. 2 more.
Messages. This is too hard. I don't use that many apps. I have a million apps. I probably have 17 pages of apps because I'll download something and then I'll get tired of it.
What's on the front screen? What's one more app that's on the front screen of your phone?
Oh, let me pull up my phone here. Let me see. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Very good. What things are you most scared, or what thing are you most scared to tell your parents?
I don't know. I'm not really scared to tell them anything.
Okay.
To be honest.
All good. All good. Would you rather give up your smartphone or your computer?
My computer.
You couldn't live without your phone.
Love my phone. But I couldn't work without my computer, so.
True. Kelly, it's been great to have you on the show. Let everybody know where they can follow you on Twitter or any other social media.
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at Kelly Kane. And my AX Soup also has an account, but it hasn't done much here in the last year or so because I haven't really been blogging or anything, but I've been focusing on other content. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, Kelly Kane.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the MVP Show with Kelly Kane. If you're interested in gaining some more skills or more direction in your career, have you had a look at the 90-Day Mentoring Challenge? It's a free mentoring that I run for a period of 90 days each year. So you can enroll by going to my website, nz365guy/90day MC, if you'd like to be involved in the next intake. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guy.com/195. See you next week.